Alright. When did you discover this hole? Well, the hole has always been there. We've been out there for a couple of years now and, the hole has been there since we've been there. It's been there since the previous owner was there. And the previous owner was quite elderly, and I'd say he was there for a good 30 to 40 years before we moved in. In 1997, Art Bell, the host of the popular late-night radio talk show Coast to Coast AM, received a fax from a man named Mel Waters. In the fax, Mel explained that he had what appeared to be a bottomless pit on his property near Manastash, Washington. Shortly after, Art invited Mel to his radio show, where he shared the story of Mel's hole with the world. Little did anyone know that it was going to be the biggest mystery in human history. What is the truth of Mel's hole? Was it a portal to another dimension, a secret military mission, or just a hoax? During the interview, Mel revealed that he had purchased the property a few years earlier, and the previous owners had held it for over 30 years. The neighbors were familiar with the pit and would often dispose of their trash in it, but the pit never seemed to fill up. It was a circular pit with a stone retaining wall extending about 15 feet below the ground surface. Beyond the wall, the hole bored through dirt and bedrock, leading to darkness that seemed endless. Nobody could remember when the hole wasn't there, and there was no apparent indication of a bottom. Anything dropped into the pit produced no sound, no splash, no crash, just silence. Sounds from the top didn't echo back either. There were other peculiarities. Animals, including Mel's dogs, were afraid of the hole. While his dogs were typically loyal and obedient, they refused to approach the pit. If he tried to lead them near it, they resisted vigorously. This fear of the hole wasn't limited to Mel's pets. No one's animals would go near it. Mel shared a story from a neighbor who claimed that he had disposed of his deceased hunting dog into the pit. Strangely, he later spotted the same dog with the same appearance, running through the woods as if it were chasing something. Over time, Mel's curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to conduct some experiments. Drawing from his experience as a former shark fisherman, he believed he could determine if there was water in the pit by extending a fishing line deep enough. He threaded the end of his line through a roll of Lifesaver candy and lowered it into the pit. The candy hung 1,500 feet down for a while, but when he pulled it back up, it remained intact. There was no water at 1,500 feet. For his next experiment, Mel lowered a 1-pound lead weight into the pit. When he reached the end of his fishing line, he attached a new spool of line and continued. He repeated this process, extending the line until he had used a staggering 880,000 feet of fishing line, equivalent to over 15 miles. Art's listeners found this intriguing but remained mostly skeptical. They called in with suggestions such as the possibility that the line had already reached the bottom and remained taut due to its weight. Others argued that based on physics, the line should have snapped if it hadn't hit the bottom by now, given the total weight of the extended line. Some proposed weighing the used line and dividing it by the weight of a single foot of line. Another suggested using radar to measure the true depth of the pit. There was even a rather unsettling suggestion to throw a live cat down the pit to listen for its cries, a suggestion Art didn't favor. Art had a few suggestions of his own. He proposed finding a volunteer to be lowered into the pit to provide a first-hand account of what lay below. Mel had concerns about potential dangers deeper in the pit, such as high temperatures, extreme air pressures, and toxic gases. Despite these concerns, a caller eagerly volunteered for the task, although no concrete plans were made to proceed with it. Mel himself admitted that he wouldn't want to be lowered into the pit due to the risk of the rope breaking. Art then asked Mel if he'd consider jumping into the pit if he had a terminal illness, to which Mel replied affirmatively. He even mentioned that his will specified his body should be disposed of in the pit. Art also floated the idea of allowing the government to deposit radioactive waste into the pit for a fee, assuming it was indeed bottomless. During the show, Mel mentioned he had dropped more than one television vacuum tube into the pit, hoping to hear it implode. Art cautioned him, suggesting that admitting this could lead to trouble for polluting the groundwater. Mel assured him that despite years of waste disposal, the water in the area remained uncontaminated. This peculiar episode provided entertainment for the night and quickly concluded. However, it wasn't the last time Coast to Coast AM listeners would hear from Mel Waters and his infamous hole. Mel ventured to Ellensburg in search of someone who might have bought a matching belt buckle from him years earlier, and he found a match. While exchanging these coins, Mel noticed something unusual about a dime. It was minted in 1943, but there were no dimes with Roosevelt's face on them in that year. Additionally, American coins bear a letter indicating the city where they were minted, and this dime was marked with a B, despite no U.S. city starting with that letter having ever minted currency. The buckle owner took the coin to a coin dealer who couldn't explain it but offered a substantial sum to buy it. The man wanted some time to consider the offer, but a few days later, the Treasury Department confiscated the coin from him. Richard C. Hoagland, a hyperdimensional physics theorist, later speculated that the coins might have originated from a parallel universe. Mel's former wife has vanished without a trace, and Mel has lost touch with what his former property looks like now, or who's taking care of it. Around the 16-minute mark of the 2002 audio file number 2, skepticism began to rise among many as Mel's story seemed increasingly fantastic. But then he dropped a bombshell on Art by asking about the Terra server. The Terra server is a database of public domain aerial and satellite imagery, which became available online in December 1997, 8 months after Mel Waters first appeared on the radio in 2002, before the advent of Google Earth. Mel shared live on air that, according to his nephew, his former property had been removed or erased from public domain imagery. After a commercial break, Art's listeners found a satellite image that suggested Mel's story might not be as imaginary as it initially seemed. Art also testified that after a previous interview, a TV camera crew visited the Ellensburg area and observed evidence indicating military presence. Mel added another puzzle piece, mentioning that people at a nearby truck stop claimed to have seen a black beam, best described as anti-light, periodically shooting up into the sky from the location of the hole. Mel had some intriguing stories to share about his experiences. One of his trucker friends recalled delivering a substantial amount of fiber optic equipment to a warehouse in Ellensburg, where a group of Israelis received it. Another trucker claimed to have transported large crated instruments from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in San Francisco, California, to the same warehouse. It's worth noting that L&L works on projects for the U.S. military, and San Francisco is where Mel ended up after his reported abduction. While Mel wasn't certain if these events were connected, he felt it was worth reporting just in case. During this part of the show, a fan posed an interesting question to Art. What are the odds of a single person finding 2 bottomless pits in one lifetime? The odds seemed too low to calculate, but Mel claimed to have found a second one.